Coming up here on today's San Francisco 49ers Report, here's the Niners Report rundown. Could San Francisco make a smart hire for their special teams coordinator or coaching role? A big reason why Brock Purdy struggled here during the 2024 campaign, and why this Niners defensive coordinator job is attractive to some of the top defensive coordinators out there on the coaching market. Before we uncover and talk about all of this, let's get to 155,000 subscribers as soon as possible. We're 304 people away from that number. So if you want Niners news, Niners rumors, Niners analysis, collaborations with other content creators, interviews, coverage from the Super Bowl, NFL Combine, draft, free agency, offseason, in-season, we do it all because that's what you get when you hit that sub button, daily coverage of the Niners with your boy Chase Sr. So the news of the day in the National Football League outside of everything transpiring in the NFL playoffs is that the Dallas Cowboys are moving on from head coach Mike McCarthy. Tom Pelissero broke the news today that the sides could not agree on the length of a contract. McCarthy will pursue other opportunities. He leaves Dallas with a winning record and 3 playoff appearances. 2 playoff losses, by the way, to the San Francisco 49ers. So the Cowboys letting him leave pretty much. It's interesting because I thought given what he did with Cooper Rush, there was a stretch there prior to Week 17 and Week 18 when Dallas won 4 of 5. They were a botched block punt away from winning 5 games in a row. That would have put them firmly in playoff contention, that Mike McCarthy and his job was safe. I thought with the work that he did with the backup quarterback, with the defense improving, manufacturing turnovers, playing pretty well on the offensive side of the football, given what Jerry Jones had said in a weak head coaching pool, by the way, that Mike McCarthy was going to return and they were going to figure something out. I'm not sure what the heck Jerry Jones has been doing over the last 8 days because now he's playing catch-up in this head coaching search. But Mike McCarthy is free to go elsewhere, and Dallas had blocked an interview request from the Chicago Bears. But now McCarthy can interview for a job like that. He can interview for a job like the New Orleans Saints, and both of those teams are expected to show interest. The Cowboys did have to make a decision on this because McCarthy's contract was set to expire on January 14th. The Cowboys went 7-10 this year after 3 straight 12-win seasons. McCarthy took over in 2020. Dallas went 6-10, didn't make it into the playoffs. In 2021, they went 12-5. That's when Jimmy Garoppolo and Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell, and that Niners defense led by DeMeco Ryans went on the road to AT&T Stadium and handed the Cowboys a loss in the wild card round. In 2022, the Cowboys won a playoff game. Then they went to Levi's Stadium, and Brock Purdy able to be victorious in the divisional round to lift the Niners to the NFC Championship game. Cowboys in the regular season went 12-5 that year. Last year, 12-5, they became the first 2 seed in the history of the NFL to lose to a 7 seed in the Green Bay Packers. And then this year, Dak Prescott got hurt. Even before that injury, the Cowboys were not a good football team. They were bad after the Dak injury. They got it together. Good coaching job from Mike McCarthy. But then, of course, they don't end up making the playoffs. I think McCarthy is a good coach, not a great coach. I am fascinated to see who the Cowboys hire here. They've already lost out on Mike Vrabel. He's going to the New England Patriots. If I'm Ben Johnson, there are similarities with how Jared Goff and Dak Prescott play the quarterback position, and that would allow Dak to run Ben Johnson's offense. But do I want to deal with a meddling owner in Jerry Jones? Do I want to come to a Cowboys organization where they have that iconic brand, they have a great history, but there's so much pressure on you year in and year out, and the Cowboys haven't made it to an NFC Championship game in nearly 3 decades? And the rest of the roster, a little bit gutted. And so Bill Belichick's back at North Carolina. You can't land Mike Vrabel. I don't know if Ben Johnson would want to come to Dallas. You're playing catch-up in the head coaching interview process. So who do the Cowboys hire? Very interested to see which option they go with and which route they go. Now, I'm not saying for the San Francisco 49ers here to hire Mike McCarthy. No. Kyle Shanahan, a much better coach than McCarthy, much more playoff success. McCarthy hasn't had playoff success in a long while. What I am saying, though, is because McCarthy is out with the Dallas Cowboys, that could mean that his coaching staff, they're going to start searching for other opportunities unless they follow McCarthy to his next destination. And the Niners should make a really smart hire in hiring Cowboys special teams coach John Fassel. At the very least, they should try to interview him to take over for Brian Schneider as special teams coordinator. Fassel is viewed as one of the most creative and best special teams coaches in the entire National Football League. And he's been one of the best special teams coordinators over the last several years. His resume, so experienced. He was the assistant special teams coach with the Baltimore Ravens from 2005 to 2007. He was the special teams coordinator with the Las Vegas Raiders, then the Oakland Raiders from 2008 to 2011. He was with the Rams from 2012 to 2019, and then with the Dallas Cowboys from 2020 up until now. Because Mike McCarthy's job and his contract has expired, many of his assistants and their contracts have also expired. So Fassel, if he's a free agent in the coaching sphere, has an opportunity here to go somewhere else, and the Niners have the right to try to bring him in. Why I like him is the vast experience, of course, such high energy, very detail-oriented, very creative with his punt coverages, his punt returns, his fake punts, and just how he operates as a special teams coach. Oftentimes you see explosive returns. You don't see Dallas giving up returns. They find ways to block punts, block kicks, and some of their fakes are really well thought out, and they catch the other special teams unit off guard. And when you've watched this Niners special teams unit over the last couple of years, they haven't done any of that well at all. And Fassel was an interim head coach back a few years ago with the Los Angeles Rams, and so he has that talent too. He also develops talent. His units are fast, his units are physical, and they play synchronized special teams football. And Fassel had an immediate impact with the Dallas Cowboys. This coming from their team website. Prior to Fassel's arrival, Dallas finished the 2019 season last in the NFL in kick return average and 31st in both net and gross punting average. After Fassel's second year with Dallas in 2021, they ranked 5th in the NFL in kickoff return average, topped the league in net punting average, and finished 4th in gross punting average. In 2021, Fassel's special teams unit was one of the most effective groups in the NFL, highlighted by a league-high 3 block punts, 2 of which were recovered for a touchdown. Fassel's unit also led the NFL with 4 blocked kicks, 3 punts, 1 PAT, while tallying an NFL high 3 special teams touchdowns. Fassel had a major influence in signing veteran punter Brian Anger in free agency prior to the 2021 season. And then you think about what the Cowboys have at their disposal with that special teams unit now. Brandon Aubrey was a soccer player who's now turned into a Megatron leg-like kicker who can kick field goals from 60 to 65 yards with ease. Kavontae Turpin was playing in the XFL or the UFL or the USFL. It's so hard to keep track nowadays because no other football league works outside of the NFL. And the Cowboys take him from one of those leagues. He turns into one of the best, most dynamic, most prolific returners in the entire NFL. And Fassel has his hands and his eyes on that. So I think about where the Niners are going with this coaching staff here. You make a hire like Fassel, you make a hire like Robert Saleh, and you get 3 head coaches for all 3 of your units. Kyle Shanahan leads the offense, Robert Saleh leads the defense, and then Fassel able to lead that special teams unit. Before we continue to move forward, I want to know, what year did you become a Niner fan? I look at the analytics of this channel all the time. It goes into my job and what I have to do to try to keep the needle moving here on the show. And I know that people watch this show of all demographics and all ages, but let me know down in the comments section what year you became a Niner fan. Our show today sponsored by our friends at Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app in the game and the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. We're moving ahead to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Can you believe it? So don't miss out on the last few weeks of football season with Prize Picks, and basketball season is also starting to heat up. Right now, when you play $5, you get $50 instantly. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. it's guaranteed. Some selections that we like for some Monday Night Football playoff action: Will Reichard, more than 1.5 field goals made. Justin Jefferson, more than a half rushing and receiving touchdown. Matthew Stafford, more than a half pick. It's Daily Fantasy Sports made easy. Pick 2 or more players. Choose more or less on their projected stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Run your game with Prize Picks, prizepicks.com/CLNS. All right, let's move forward on today's show. Let's talk about Brock Purdy here. Brock Purdy is not blameless for his 2024 struggles. He struggled a little bit. He would even admit that. But there are many reasons why Brock Purdy did not play his best football in 2024, including this. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk scored so many touchdowns during the 2023 campaign. Christian McCaffrey was the NFL Offensive Player of the Year, top 5 in MVP voting. He had 21 total touchdowns. Deebo Samuel had more than 1,000 all-purpose yards. He had 12 touchdowns. Brandon Ayuk was a second-team All-Pro. He had 7 touchdowns through the air. You flip the page to how those players performed as far as finding the end zone in 2024. Deebo had 4 total touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey had none, and a goose egg for Brandon Ayuk. That is 41 touchdowns in 2023 to 4 from your prolific players in 2024. Injuries played a role in Brock Purdy's struggles. Players declining played a role. There was bad offensive line play. The run game wasn't the same. The coaching was subpar all across the board in all phases. There was a lack of continuity and a lack of synergy. And so it's going to be hard for any quarterback to be able to survive all of that. And that's why I think Brock Purdy can rebound in 2025. As for this Niners defensive coordinator job, I think it's attractive to some of the top defensive coordinators out there on the open market. Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich, Dennis Allen, Gus Bradley, and others. Why is that? Well, this Niners defense will still have Fred Warner, All-Pro linebacker this year, 3rd straight first-team All-Pro honor. You have Nick Bosa, who is one of the top edge rushers in the game. Diamador Lenore and Renardo Green are going to be your cornerback tandem. It's a really promising young corner tandem. And Malik Mustafa looks to be a really good player at that safety spot. We'll see what the Niners do with Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga, because if they don't retain those players, they're going to need to bulk up linebacker and safety. But those are good building blocks right there. This Niners offense should be better next year and healthier than they were in 2024. In turn, it's going to make this Niners defense's job a lot easier in 2025. The special teams unit should improve. Short fields doesn't do the defense any favor. Momentum changes doesn't assist the defense either. The Niners do, in my opinion, have to address edge rusher and defensive tackle and rebuild the trenches really on both sides of the ball. But that's a lot to work with if you're a defensive coordinator compared to other less than ideal situations across the entire NFL. And the results have been there, and the Niners are not far removed from having solid results as a defensive unit. In 2023 under Steve Wilks, 3rd in points per game allowed, 9th in defensive efficiency, 9th in defensive EPA, 9th in QBR allowed, 14th against the rush. Have to get better against the run. In 2024 under Nick Sorensen, they dipped down in those categories. 29th, 20th, 27th, 26th, and 17th respectively. More stats here. Yards per play under Wilks, they were 7th. Yards per game, 8th. Red zone, not good enough, 16th. Middle of the pack. On 3rd downs, 24th. Takeaways, tied for 5th. Under Sorensen in those categories. 7th, 8th, 31st in the red zone, 24th on 3rd downs once again. Can't get off the field. You're not going to have a lot of success. The big number this year, too, Fred Warner has talked about this, takeaways. The Niners went from tied for 5th most to 20th. And the Niners just couldn't generate a lot of turnovers. That comes down to coaching, comes down to personnel, but the elements are there for this defense to get back on track. So I'm interested to see who they land at that DC spot. Who do you want to be the Niners defensive coordinator? Join the conversation as always down in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the show.